All right, we just had to get to that one part.
Ooh.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of TFLnow Live.
Happy Monday. And by the way, for the two of you who gave us a thumbs down before we even turned on, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you for that one. Thanks.
Yeah, send your name and address.
Today we are talking about old cars again. More specifically, though, we're talking about expensive old cars. So these are going to be the 15 cars that cost over $10,000 to maintain over a 10-year period.
Now, bear in mind, obviously, we're not talking about Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and what have you.
No.
We're talking about cars that regular human beings actually purchase.
These are like normal people cars, not crazy things. Obviously, some 1990s Ferrari is going to cost a lot of money to maintain over a long time. But at the end, we're also going to do an obscure car challenge. So find the most obscure car that you can for under $15,000. Start looking on Craigslist.
Wait. 15,000?
That's what it says. 15.
No, you told me 5.
I said
you lied.
No, not for
Let's
us,
move
for them.
on.
This is for the people, right?
Oh.
Zach?
Is this for the people? Because this challenge is a little different than the one he gave to me.
We had a $5,000
okay,
Craigslist
now
challenge.
he's changed it.
No, it didn't change it. Mine are all under 5. But for the people, it's 15. Is that right?
Yeah.
Zach?
Okay, just to clarify,
help
the
out
list
here.
we're doing today is the cars that are the most expensive to maintain over 10 years.
Yes.
Right.
And each on the list of those top 15 cars cost at least $10,000 over 10 years to maintain.
Right, that part I'm good on. It's
Yeah.
the obscure car challenge for under 15K, or is it supposed to just say 5K?
I think it's supposed to just say 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now we're cleared up.
Okay, we're
Clerical
good.
error.
So
Sorry, guys.
at the end of the show, of course, we're going to be answering your guys' questions. So if you put something in the super chat, we're probably more likely to see it. But do send your questions in through the chat. We'll answer them. Welcome to the hood also.
Well, explain that.
Well, different donations, different things. $5 gets you on the hood. $10 gets you a sticker. $25 gets you a patch, TFL car or TFL truck. And $50 gets you a hat that may or may not be signed. It's up to you. You let us know. And then send us an email to info@tflcar.com with your address if you do donate, so we can make sure we send your stuff to the right place. Should we get on with the list?
Hit it.
Okay, so the list is from a website called yourmechanic.com, who studied each brand to find which vehicles cost the most to maintain over a 10-year period. So you got to keep in mind with this list that these cars are basically at the newest from 2008. And some of the ones, we had to adjust the list a little bit for ones that are still on sale so that the list feels pretty relevant.
Right, there's one bonus car that's actually you can't buy right now.
Right, so every car on this list cost over $11,000 to maintain over a 10-year period. So estimated costs count major repairs like powertrain issues, so transmission rebuilds, engine rebuilds. And to find the average cost, yourmechanic.com looked at the amount spent per 2 oil changes. So basically the amount spent per year for each car.
Give or take.
And then, of course, it's also general maintenance like tires, oil changes, brake pads, things like that. So number 15 is the Mini Cooper. On average, it costs you $11,200 in maintenance over a 10-year period. And the biggest reason for this? 3 letters. We both hate them.
CVTs.
CVTs. This car, the early Mini Coopers had a CVT, and essentially they had a 100% failure rate, which meant that you were going to be fixing your CVT, and it was not necessarily going to be cheap. That being said, there was also some water pump and thermostat issues, but yeah, your Mini's going to cost you a little bit over 10 years.
Now, keep in mind, the new Minis, the ones that have just recently come out over the past, I believe, 2 years, now have maintenance programs that come with the car, which make it a little bit cheaper over the long run.
A little bit. All right, number 14, the Honda Pilot, which I was very surprised to see any Honda make this list. On average, yourmechanic.com found that they would cost $11,200 over a 10-year period. And some models had excessive oil consumption issues. There was a class action lawsuit that was settled back in 2013. But they sold basically 1.5 million, or the lawsuit covered 1.5 million cars, including the Pilot. So I guess the earlier Pilots had a
few issues,
some long-term issues.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any experience with any of these cars, by the way, please drop us a comment and let us know your horror stories, because we'd love to share. Number 13, the Chevy Impala, $11,500 over a 10-year period.
That's crazy, considering that the Chevy Impala, which is one of the best-selling Chevys over the past, say, 10 years, and part of the reason for that is because of fleet sales, but that vehicle was known as being reliable. So It's kind of curious. What are the repairs that are listed?
The two big things that come up with the Impala is an air injection solenoid, which is part of the emissions control system, and they also had some transmission issues, which transmissions can get expensive if you're not too careful about it.
Well, it was really surprised me when I saw that. There are a couple other surprising ones on this list.
There's a few surprising ones. The number 12 is the Ford Focus. Oop. Ding. Tyler Wilkinson, $9.99. Fred L. Castolo brings Mercedes-Benz to TFL Game Show. Will Face, Ford Fiesta ST. Don W. Flakeland said Mercedes-Benz was competition ale.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, to be honest. But thank you, Tyler. We appreciate the donation.
It's like good stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Is it good stuff?
Thank you very much for the donation.
Yeah, well, thank you. We appreciate it. Sorry, the Ford Focus, though, number 12, $11,600 on average over 10 years. And the two biggest issues that we could find were that the power shift transmission had some problems. And then there...
Power shift, problems. They go together.
Yeah, and there was actually a class action lawsuit about that was settled last year in 2017.
Yeah, so if you have a vehicle that has that particular transmission, check into that.
Be careful. Number 11, the Volkswagen Passat, $11,600. This one I'm not as surprised about.
No, unfortunately, Volkswagen has had some reliability issues. Although the Passat was never the one I was really looking at. I always looked at other ones, the weird ones like the EOS and GTI.
Yeah. They had engine issues, complaints of stalling, head gasket problems. I know, at least with my engine, which is the EA 888, it's a 2-liter turbo from Volkswagen.
Right.
You're like almost guaranteed that your water pump is going to go at 60,000 miles. Like without fail. Doesn't matter what you do.
Is that what Fahrvergnügen really means?
No, that means driving
Water
pleasure.
pump,
It means driving pleasure.
Lose your pump.
But yeah, some people might not be so concerned to see a Volkswagen.
This one's the next one's surprising to me.
This one is weird to me too. The Ford Mustang, $11,900 over a 10-year period. And the biggest problem that we could find was actually with paint issues. So a lot of blistering or corrosion problems with the Mustang.
Wait. You're telling me an American manufacturer has problems with their paint? No.
Yeah, I know. Believe it or not, Nathan.
Yeah, but that's kind of crazy stating that that's what it's going to cost to fix your paint problems.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not just the paint problems, but...
If you guys have owned a Mustang, you've had some mechanical problems that you think other people have had, let us know, because that's one of the ones that's weird.
If you guys know, like, the really common problems with these cars, too, please tell us. But so far as we could tell, paint issues were one of the big ones. And paint can be expensive to fix correctly.
Sure.
Maybe not $11,900 over 10 years expensive, but who knows. Number 9, the Chrysler 300. $12,000 on average over a 10-year period.
Why?
Well, engine failure seems to be one of the most common and severe issues with the Chrysler 300.
Well, yeah, if an engine fails, it could be a problem, but that's sort of a general blanket thing to throw over there. You know, we don't know what it is.
I mean, that's most commonly it's the engine failures tend to plague the 300. So far as we could
I've heard of electrical problems, and maybe that's part of it.
That could be.
Hey, once again, guys, if you have one of these and you've had an issue, let us know.
Please do. Number 8, sorry, the Nissan Maxima. Again, kind of
not to me.
Surprising. No, not surprising.
No. Ever since the 90s, for some reason, say around mid-90s, the Nissan Maxima has gone from being one of the high-quality cars that was super reliable, and progressively it's become less and less and less. And recently, when they've gone to all CVT transmissions, there have been issues.
Yeah, I guess so. The most common problems we could come up with, the oxygen sensor has a tendency to fail, and there's some reports of transmission issues. And maybe with Nissan switching to more and more CVTs later in their model years, we could see more of that. I know
Possibly.
That a lot of people have issues with CVTs.
Yeah.
And it's worth pointing out, guys, that people are going to have specific issues to their cars. There's usually a wide range of issues for any given car.
Sure.
Oh, for sure.
So just in our research,
these were the most common problems.
These were some common problems. So we're not saying that the vast majority of cars have these issues, although some evidence suggests that
this is where
plurality of them do, if not a majority.
Yep.
This one was surprising to me also. Number 7 is the Subaru Forester, $12,200. And you have a lot of personal experience with it.
I do. Actually, I had what was technically considered a second-generation Forester, and put about 100,000 miles on it. Absolutely loved the car. First of all, solid, strong car, and it put up with my wife's driving, and she's known as Peter Knievel. Long story. The point is that The vehicle that when you look at a Subaru Forester or any Subaru product, most of the components are proprietary to Subarus. In other words, they don't share with any other manufacturer, or very few. And because of that, a lot of the components are a little bit more expensive. I noticed a small percentage more expensive than, say, Honda or Toyota in terms of the equivalent part or the equivalent maintenance. So in terms of my problems, we did have a little bit of a head gasket issue, and we had some bearings issues, wheel bearing issues. But, those were my problems, and I went on to forums even all the way back then, and other people had the same problems.
Some other problems that we found, there seems to be a tendency to have excessive oil consumption, which can lead to oil starvation.
Which could also be part of the leak, too.
Yeah, some owners have had head gasket issues. That's a pretty common thing. And also, the headlight bulbs burn out oddly fast, especially on the driver's side, which has to do with a fuse shorting or something like that. There's something that gets knocked loose, basically.
I've seen a lot of that personally. We live in Boulder, Colorado, which is like the absolute
Mecca
hometown
for Subarus.
right?
Yeah,
Mecca for Subarus, and I've seen probably a couple dozen Subarus from like early mid 2000s to even into the 2010s with popped head bulbs on the driver's side. Headlight bulbs on the driver's side.
It's
and
really
apparently
weird.
It's a grounding issue.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people have a grounding issue with their headlights.
It just tends to be a common problem on the Forester for some reason.
Well, once again, guys, if you have a problem and you've heard other people having the same problem, let us know. It's the Subaru. We're not trying to bash it, not on this particular program.
No.
And the point is that those problems are considered common, and I had a couple of those problems, but I never had the headlight issues, Zach. So, just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually I've had two friends that have had, my cousin has had a Forester, and my good buddy from high school also had a Forester. He had an XT. And I think my cousin has had a couple things related to the head gasket. The guy with the XT, though, he's, I think, been relatively problem-free, but he's also done a lot of work to it himself, which...
He didn't lower it, did he? Because some of the guys...
Oh, he sure did.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, STI struts,
No.
STI intercooler, STI turbo.
Oh, your friend
all the
needs
things.
help.
He did all the things.
Next.
Next is number 6. It's the Mazda 6. That's funny. $12,700 over 10 years. And the two biggest problems we can find with this are transmission issues. So the 6-speed auto on older models tended to be problematic, but also overheating issues. So there's a cooling fan module control module failure. So they would overheat and their transmissions would blow up a little bit. But I actually really like the Mazda 6 right now. Sarah just had the opportunity to review the Mazda 6 Turbo.
Yeah, she put it versus the CX-9, I think.
Because they share the engine.
Yep.
And it's a good car, but it's surprising. I mean, that one's another surprise to me that Mazda has had, it's been more expensive for people to maintain.
That is true. Let's move on to number 5.
Number 5 is not at all surprising. It's the Audi A4 Quattro, $12,800 on average. A lot of owners are reporting oil leaks, but there's also ignition coil failure, and as a result, engine misfires.
Yep. That's common, and that's been common for a long time. And unfortunately, if you go back a little bit further and you talk about the all-roads, those vehicles had notorious problems with their suspension systems. So Audi's had some issues in the past.
Audi, I think like in the 90s, it was really bad. And there was some scandal with a brake pedal failure, right? Or
acceleration, unintended acceleration, which turns
that got
out
debunked. Didn't
yeah,
it?
it was debunked, and that was with the 5000. That was the Audi 5000 issue way back in the 80s.
My parents used that scandal as an excuse to get a really good deal on I want to say like an Audi 90 or something like that back in the day. That was the car I was brought home from the hospital in.
Okay, next.
Yep. Number 4, the Dodge Grand Caravan, $14,500 over 10 years, and one of the biggest problems we could find are brake issues, actually.
Not much to say about that. I don't have a lot of experience with those vehicles. However, I always assumed that they were one of the more reliable machines that Dodge built, especially because I still see a lot of old ones on the road.
Interesting. And they're also still selling them, believe it or not.
Yep, the old version is still for sale.
Carcan actually says for the Audi Quattro, that's just oil changes for $12K. Man, I don't miss my Audi. I believe you, Carcan. Those can get expensive. Number 3, again, I guess I'm not surprised. The Mercedes-Benz E-Class, $14,700 over a 10-year period. The 7-speed automatic has shifting issues, and air suspension tends to be a problem. And air suspension can be very expensive.
A lot of people tend to swap them out with coil springs, and it's expensive to do that as well. So
But once you do that once, you never really have to.
you never have to do it again. Such a shame with those air suspensions. The older ones are definitely issues.
Yeah, my family has an '02 Range Rover, a P38, which we got for very inexpensive, by the way, because they just their value just drops like a rock.
Big surprise.
But the air suspension has gone, I think, twice now in the 5 years that we've owned it.
Jeez.
Or like one of the airbags has gone.
Let's move on.
Number 2, the Nissan Murano, $14,700 once again, and it's our 3 favorite letters.
CVTs.
CVTs. They have been problematic in the Murano, and so you end up spending quite a bit over the 10-year period.
Now, granted, as Nissan uses CVTs more and more, they'll figure out new ways of making them more reliable. That's the hope. But yeah, some of the older CVT transmissions out there are, frankly, really crappy. I mean, it's bottom line. So if you can avoid that and get a vehicle that actually has a conventional transmission, or even Toyota's older CVTs, well, they are far more reliable than Nissan's. So something to look into.
And number 1, you ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Drum roll. BMW 3 Series, $15,600 over 10 years.
Damn.
Oof. The Straight 6 engine is pretty bulletproof, but the timing chain may or probably will need servicing at 100,000 miles or so. And they had some issues with cooling. We should talk a little bit about timing chains, because I think it's kind of an interesting phenomena with German cars that can cause them to be a little bit more expensive. I know this is a big problem with the B6 Audi S4s. Right. So a timing chain works just like a timing belt, except it's a chain, right? So the idea is that it's more robust, maybe. But I think specifically with the B6 S4, a lot of times the timing chain ends up getting put at the back of the engine. And what that means is that you maybe have to take the whole engine out to get access to the timing chain or the components that help keep the timing chain in place.
Yeah, and bear in mind that there could be issues with everything from lubrication to cooling to having the chain actually go off track. Now, having a vehicle that has a timing belt, you could have the same problems, but on top of that, timing belts don't last as long. Usually, that's the case.
And whatever the case may be, the BMW 3 Series suffers greatly from high cost. All right, so we did say we'd have some bonuses.
Yep.
Before we get into that, though.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just had a really interesting comment here from Tommy
please.
Wong I really wanted to get to, because this is fascinating. He says, 2003 Dodge Durango. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 radiators, 3 starters, diff repair, driver front axle twice, passenger axle once, 3 batteries, brake light changed 35 times. I don't know if that's a bit of an exaggeration, but if it's not, that's amazing.
What year Durango was that?
2003, only had 90,000, traded it in for a 16 Dodge Journey.
Oof.
So,
wow, and you went to a Journey, huh?
How do you like the Journey, actually? That's my question.
The Journey's reputation, frankly, isn't great.
That is not a fun maintenance experience at all.
No,
sorry to hear that.
And sometimes, a thermostat or a thermostatic controller can be an issue and can screw up a radiator. There are a variety of different issues that vehicles have problems. Some come right out of the chute with problems built in. And there's not much to be said about it other than certain automakers are more reliable than others. I mean, that's the bottom line.
It just happens. Okay, the bonuses?
Yes.
So we have 2 bonuses, actually, not just one. The first bonus, we decided to exclude from the list because it's no longer on sale.
Yep.
But it's the Chrysler Sebring. And I want to say it was like, what, $17,000? Is that right?
It was a little over 15. It was higher than the BMW, but not by much.
It was the number 1 car on the list. We just didn't include it because it wasn't on sale. But the Chrysler Sebring, you probably have more experience with that than
No, I really don't. Thank you. It was a great rental car back in its day. No, the bottom line is that vehicle shouldn't have had any problems. Now, I know that there was a convertible version. Perhaps there were some issues with the convertible. But in terms of there was a 4-cylinder and there was a 6-cylinder. As far as I know, they were fairly strong. But once again, it's one of those cars that faded away and nobody really cared.
Bummer for the Sebring. Number 2 on our bonus list is the Chevy Cobalt, which is also not on sale
You're breaking
anymore.
Andre's heart.
Am I?
Yeah, Andre's father has the SS.
Oh.
Yes, he does.
See, those are kind of cool.
They're kind of collectible, kind of.
Kind of.
Very fast.
Quick. And it kind of came underrated, like horsepower-wise from the factory.
Yeah.
I think Chevy just kind of fudge that number a little bit.
It's hard to say exactly what they were thinking when they built that car, and then later on the SS with the same power plant. So let's look at what the next step is here on our list. Now, before we do that, should we hit some shout-outs, or?
Yeah, just something I wanted to say about the Cobalt. Somebody was commenting earlier, talking about Takata Airbags and Honda Accords and those kinds of issues. So while maintenance factors into this list, recalls do not, because you don't actually
pay for
to fix a recall.
Yeah.
So Takata Airbags is one example, and the reason I bring up the Cobalt is because this car was really at the heart of GM's ignition switch issue.
But wasn't that dismissed?
It was just dismissed. A federal judge just dismissed it on the grounds that prosecutors actually moved to dismiss the case because GM agreed to improve the safety of their cars over the course of the past few years, and prosecutors said that GM had complied with the agreement, hence they decided to drop the case. But that was another big recall as well with Cobalt in particular.
I think one of these days we might do a show on recalls as well. We might throw something in there. But for now, let's move on to
our Craigslist challenge. So you and I spent the last hour furiously browsing Craigslist looking for the most obscure or interesting cars we could find with a budget of $5,000. And I think clearly I will have found some more interesting cars than you.
Okay, fire away.
Yeah. So my first one, I picked 3. First one is a 1968 International Harvester 1200B 3/4 ton pickup with patina for $2,500.
Look at that beauty.
Look at that. What do you yawn? That is a cool truck.
It's a cool truck, but it's not that obscure.
It's kind of obscure.
How
many 3/4 ton Internationals do you see just driving around?
Actually, quite a few.
Really?
Yeah, we're not far from corn country.
We're like 15 minutes from corn country.
Exactly, and there's plenty of them out there resting. No, that one's, no, next. I'm not impressed.
Completely unimpressed. My second one is a twofer, actually.
Okay.
Not just one car, but 2 cars. It's a 1991 and a 1993 Volkswagen Fox for $3,500, and you can't say it's not cool because I know you have a personal connection with the Volkswagen Fox.
First time I went on the Autobahn as an adult, I was in a Volkswagen Fox with about 60 horsepower. And I did go into the left lane for about 8 seconds and took a picture of myself doing it before selfies.
And you can have not one, but 2 Foxes for $3,500, Nathan.
Yeah, they're small cars, and I don't really have anything else to say about them that's positive. So let's move on. That's not that obscure, though. There are some Foxes around here. In fact, I think Boulder had a few kicking around.
It's a little obscure.
It's a little obscure.
The last one, I think, is even more so. 1987 Alfa Romeo Milano Verde Quadrifoglio. $4,000, busted headlight. Who cares? It's an Alfa V6.
I don't know if it was you or Zach that said something really funny that they could still smell the cigarette smoke from the factory inside the leather. Was that you who said that, Zach?
There are some unique stains on the inside of this one. Let me tell you what. That headlight too. Oh, yeah, look at that. What is that made of?
You have points for this because you know I have a weakness for Italian cars.
I do know you
especially
have
ones like this,
cars.
which are so, yeah.
Look at this. Has been well loved by one or many people. I can't tell really, but it's been beat. But it's also cheap, $4,000, and you can have yourself an Alfa that supposedly runs and is quite quick.
By the way, if you're watching overseas, this is an Alfa Romeo 75, dude.
Just don't. This headlight, that's weight savings.
You might be able to negotiate on the price.
Maybe. This piece of trim by the window here, you don't need that.
You
don't really need the trim.
Well, you start pulling off all the trim and you have a Superleggera on your hands.
The paint's pretty good, though.
No, it's not.
Cartoon said Jeremy Clarkson would buy that for a challenge, and in fact he did way back in the day.
He did buy it for a challenge, so it's even cooler.
Only real men own Alfas,
Look
or at least at one
thing.
point in time in their life, and I had one which didn't last.
It looks like some Italian...
that looks like someone kicked it right away.
No, it looks like...
Oh, that's painted by hand.
It looks like someone, like an Italian sailor got into a fight at a bar, and they just got punched in the eye. But they're still rough and tumble, and they're ready to go.
Is Roman here?
No.
Okay, because we could have him playing the part of an Italian sailor getting drunk, apparently, that you...
Yeah, obviously. Anyways, those are my 3. They were. I
like the Alfa. The Alfa was definitely the right one to finish. Now I only had 2, and they're obscure. Why? Because you just don't see them every day in the United States.
Oh. Okay.
Technically speaking,
Wait,
it's a
hold on.
Ford.
Hold on. Let's back up here. Hold on. $1. How much?
It's
how much?
actually, I think I put it on there. I think it's actually like $3,000.
Oh, three. It's
3,500,
three. Okay.
Yeah, come on. I'm okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Ooh.
yeah, this is a European Ford van, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a 4-cylinder engine. This is left-hand drive, so it's not an English van. I believe it's a German van. And almost drives, so very rare.
Oh, almost drives.
Well, they weren't
Almost
very specific
drives.
about it being drivable.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Almost.
look at that interior, though. That is excellent patina.
That is tasteful patina.
And they're pretty honest. I think that's kilometers. I don't think that's miles per hour.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a little slow. Slower than a Fox, maybe.
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 All right, so yeah, that's...
Ooh, look, there's a cat. You get a free cat.
There's a free pussy cat that comes with it.
There's a free cat included with your van. See that? You have me with the cat now. I'm in.
There it is.
Give me
Yeah,
the free cat.
they throw that in.
So people are asking if that's an early Econoline. It's the
No,
British
it's not.
version of it. It's called the Thames.
It's the
The
Thames,
Thames.
but it's
Like
even though
the
it is
river?
yeah, well, what else? No, the Thames lockers at your school. Come
I
on.
don't know.
No, the point is that this van, which is English origin, is actually, I believe, a German van because left-hand drive, and I believe back then you could only get them in Germany and in France with left-hand drive. So. Yeah, which is cool here because obviously it's a lot easier to drive.
Yeah,
But
it's cool.
Yeah, so that is pretty. You don't see those every day. That is
No.
really rare and obscure. Next.
Whoa!
Bang!
Whoa!
Pimp! Yes!
Oh my God!
Deep down inside, I've always wanted to be called Spider Nathan and wear a really big hat.
This is our neck. When we need a new hood for Welcome to the Hood,
No.
we're upgrading to this.
Look at those wheels.
Look at that paint. That is like a whole.
Oh, you think the outside of it's great?
Yeah,
Come on.
wait.
Look at the interior.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Huh?
Ooh.
I saw this and fell in love.
And for only $2,500.
That's
I'm
not
impressed.
bad.
I'm
I think it's got a
impressed.
426.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big. That is beefy.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
makes what, like 160 horsepower?
I might make about 180, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
we'll
okay.
you pull out the emissions and everything else and just
Right.
throw them away.
Well,
But yeah, now
that's pretty cool.
you need a wah-wah pedal just to walk up to that thing.
That
you know?
is- I think pimp is you need a suit that matches the.
Yeah,
you know,
an orange suit with
uh,
white piping.
Yeah.
Oh,
And some white,
yeah.
like some white crocodile
Big
shoes.
feather.
And a big hat.
I'd do it. I would do it. Buy me the car. I'll dress for it.
Yeah. So what is that? 72 Thunderbird? Yeah. Jeez, oh Pete.
Actually, you need a bottle of Thunderbird to go with that.
Isn't
Isn't that awesome? Come on, how often do you see that?
Okay, so you guys let us know in the comments who won. Is it
Please. It's
Alfa versus Thunderbird?
Alpha, no, Thunderbird. They're really close in terms of both of them being super tacky.
Arcade. That's like $50 a foot.
That's all right. That's a good one.
That's pretty good. Yeah, it is about $50 a foot.
Now, before we wrap it up, we do have an obscure car that we wanted you guys to guess.
Yeah, we have two actually.
Are we doing two?
We're doing two.
All right. Now, that one isn't too terribly difficult for car aficionados, but if you're on the younger side, then you're not used to this vehicle. And I'll give you a hint. The name brand did exist in the United States, and these were sold here as well. And it had a V4.
Whoa.
Not a straight 4, not an opposed 4, a V4.
V4.
So,
4 like this.
yep.
Not like this. 4.
God. And you graduated college.
I
And
did.
we'll have the second one here. That is obscure.
Whoa!
Mm-hmm.
That's way more obscure. Look at that thing.
Yeah, one hint.
Is it a submarine? Can I take it? Is it submersible?
Now, there's actually a little bit of a debate about this car, and it is a concept car from 1969, and it debuted at the Tokyo Auto Show. Now, the one thing about this vehicle is they're not 100% sure if it either had a 350cc engine or an electric
Bicycle
motor.
pedals? Oh.
But it was a futuristic car built by a certain company. I've given a lot of hints away
It looks
already.
like the expensive version of a kettle car. You know, with 3 wheels.
You know what's really
and
cool?
Yellow plexiglass. What?
What's really cool about the modern era coming in with all of these electric cars is that you could take a lot of these concepts that existed that could never be powered by a gas engine.
And make them work.
Yeah.
That could work.
I could see you in one of those, Mike.
You,
It's like a giant hamster ball.
well, I have a little porthole for my head.
Yeah.
I don't think my head.
That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need. You just open that up. Okay,
Like you're driving around in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
Ron got the first one. Yeah, Ron McKenna got the first one. Saab Sonnet, right?
That's right. It's actually the Saab Sonnet 3.
Ooh.
And after doing a little bit of research, I'm pretty sure it's pre-1973 because from 73 to 74, they had a god-awful bumper for DOT requirements. So that one was clean. This other one, however, might be a little bit more difficult. Any guesses?
Someone got the brand.
Yes, it is a Toyota. Very good.
It's a Toyota Ramblin' Ram. You got the brand. Let's see if anyone can get the model. You could honestly just smash your keyboard and you might get close.
Well, no, I mean, come on. There's actually some people out there who are really into concept vehicles.
It's a cool concept.
Mm-hmm. So it is a Toyota from the 1969 Tokyo Motor Show.
69, okay.
And it may have been powered by a 350cc engine or a gas motor. Still unsure about that. And yeah, it's a three-wheeler. So by now a lot of people have had an opportunity to go onto Google and check their phones. And anybody?
Nobody's got it. No one knows.
Okay, it's...
Nobody
Shall we?
knows. Yeah, it's, you tell them.
It's Toyota EX2. And that is a concept vehicle that was built specifically for personal transport. And if you think about it, it actually was really ahead of its time because it was super, super small. And all of a sudden, all of these three-wheel vehicles are coming back out nowadays between performance cycles and electric vehicles. A ton of them are hitting the road. So,
Or maybe, Nathan, is it the perfect car to take on a date?
it is because everybody can see what you're doing and then you'll have to behave yourself.
Oh, wait, no, that's not what I meant.
You're not getting political,
wait,
are you?
Carcane? No, I'm not getting political. Carcane said the EX2, but I don't know if that was after we said it.
Sorry, I may have been around the same time. So we're not going to give you the credit. However, well done.
He said I Googled it though. Okay. Well,
Okay. Hey, at least you're honest about it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being honest. But there you go. Those are our two picks of the day. That's it, dude.
By the way, the Saab, the Sonnet 3. Can we go back to that real quick? We just
it's
want one
green.
second.
Yeah.
That awesome green car that we had.
Boom! Look at that.
First of all, for those of you who have seen
It
the
looks
modern day BMW i3 with its super narrow tires, these tires are just as narrow. Super
really?
skinny tires. Yeah, they really
look at
are.
those.
They're terribly skinny. But it was a really quick car around a track. There was no weight to it whatsoever. It was mostly fiberglass.
How much horsepower?
And front wheel drive. And it was around 70 horsepower, give or take. The problem was, in those days, they had an emissions issue, which is so far before your time, it's sad. And they choked off a lot of power, and because of that, no matter what they did with the car, even increased the displacement with the larger engine,
Just didn't help.
it just never had the power and never really made it in our market.
LS swap it.
There's no way.
Don't do that.
No, there would be no way you could do that.
No, they're cool. I'm always a fan of some old Swedish metal. So
There you go.
that works for me.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. We actually have an interesting week coming up. We have a lot more like this, but we also have some announcements that are going to be coming really, really soon about some adventure video that we're about to put together.
Oh, it's going to be so fun. I'm really excited for it.
Very exciting stuff.
So please be sure to come back to TFL Now. Are we doing live shows every day this week? Or
Well, at least tomorrow we'll probably do one.
Tomorrow we'll be back with Talking Trucks tomorrow. Is that? Yeah, so Talking Trucks tomorrow, 4 p.m. as per usual. Wednesday I'll be gone, but you and Roman maybe will do a show together.
Possibly together, yeah.
And then yeah, we're gonna do some more announcements later on in the week because we have a really cool adventure coming up. So we'll see you next time.
All right, take care, guys. By the way, once again, this video, after it becomes is no longer live, we will look at it again and answer a few more questions. Play us out. Yeah, that's all right. Kind of little ZZ Top-ish, little Stevie Ray Moreno, you know what I mean? Little. It was good.